Well, I'm Joe anyway. I'm from Milltown, just outside Tuam in Galway, where we're from.
I'm Ryan. I'm studying a science degree in NUI Galway. The issues that I would have been going through, they would have began kind of in my early teenage years. How I first began dealing with them was kind of suppressing them and kind of saying, they're not physical, they'll go away. For me, there was a lot of kind of shame, embarrassment associated with telling someone how I'd feel. Like, you'd have your good days, your bad days. I always see mental issues as kind of a wave motion. The peaks and troughs, they be closer together if you don't reach out to someone. It gets to a stage where you feel this darkness, this kind of dread, this hardship with day-to-day tasks, not being able to do those kind of things. It can't be normal. It kind of continued until about 2 years ago when I finally reached out to someone, and Joe was that person. Initially talking to him, I just felt this enormous release. It's kind of like all the shame, the embarrassment, it just went. It kind of made it seem like, this is something that it's normal. Like, this is something that people go through. After the first time of kind of getting things off my chest, it would be so much easier the next time. And it just continues. It always gets easier.
Joe, I'm going to come over to you now if that's okay. What was it like for you hearing that Ryan wasn't feeling very well?
It was a shock, really, to be honest, at first, because I would have thought we were fairly similar in a lot of the things that we were going through. We seem to have shared a lot of experience and stuff. And I think you're very quick to try and put a label on it yourself to understand it. It was difficult because, it would have been one of my best mates, and you're like, the guy is hurt, and you would have think, you try to play it down a little bit yourself in your own head at first. You're like, nah, it's fine. But as you got more into it, you kind of realised yourself, that this guy is actually kind of struggling here a little bit. Your initial reaction is you just want to help, but you kind of feel hopeless. You kind of feel like you can't do anything,
So Joe, can you remember, what are the things that you did, when Ryan kind of said how he was feeling?
I kind of remember anyway, consciously trying to just be chill about it, I didn't want to make this huge reaction and be like, oh my gosh, you have this wrong with you or whatever. I was lucky enough as well that I had people near me who were very supportive of me. One thing I said from Ryan from the start was that he asked me to keep these things just between us. He was like, don't tell anyone, please don't tell anyone what we talk about. And at first I turned around to him and went, I can't promise that, Ryan. I can't tell you that I'm not going to tell anyone. I might have to reach out and talk to someone as well about this. And he kind of fell out with me at first. He wasn't happy. He was like, I thought I could trust you about this. But then after a little while, he kind of came back again, and we were talking about it again. I went up to an organisation called Jigsaw in Galway, and I just said, look, I think my mate is going through a bit of a hard time at the minute. I don't know what I'm meant to be doing. And they were fantastic. They gave me great little pointers. They were like, well, these are numbers you call if you think that there's anything up. And, make sure you have their parents' number. Don't tell Ryan you got it, but make sure you have his parents' number if you're worried about him. That type of thing. I have to say they were fantastic with it.
What were the good things that Joe did that really helped you as someone who was experiencing a mental health?
Yeah, well, the first thing was actually, taking the time to listen to me and just relieve me from this by saying, it's not abnormal, it's nothing to be ashamed of. You're not wrong, like, don't be embarrassed. And the stem of it is really, it can just be one person. It really does start with that listener. It's not just about, come to terms with yourself, it's about somebody else helping you come to terms with it.
How did you talk, or how did you reach out?
We would have been talking in the repeats room that we were privileged to have together. That would have been like the first kind of hard part, like tackling it in person, face to face. But then like things get more, it's more accessible to like text, FaceTime. We do that a lot, and maybe too much. It's a gradual transition, with time comes comfort and trust. It's hard initially, but it's one of the best decisions I've ever made.
What would you say to someone who's trying to support a friend? So what would you say to a Joe who's out there trying to support their friend? What are the key things you'd like them to know for both of you?
I think it's important to know that mental issues, it's not a matter of kind of just doing this big spring clean of the mind and then expecting, these problems not to recur. As a listener, you should just expect that. Just expect for someone to reach out to you more than once.
I found as well it was important for me anyway to at least have other people that I could talk to as the listener. I had someone, because you kind of take it on yourself a little bit. You want to kind of share the burden a little bit.
If you feel like you're taking too much on, let the person who has the issues know. And if you feel like you have to share it with someone else, tell the person who's looking for help.
Are there any major things that you shouldn't do? I know you've kind of, Joe, you said don't try and interpret what people are saying anyway. But is there any like big red flags of like definitely don't do that shit? Like,
If you're not in the same place, if you're not going through them issues, don't try to pretend that you are. Do you know? Don't try and pretend that you can relate if you can't. I was lucky enough that I never had any mental issues or anything like that, but I never tried to make out to Ryan that I got where he was.
Just say whatever you feel like in a general way, and then that evening or with somebody else, discuss it more in detail and decide, you know, what advice should I offer to this person who's reaching out to me and really relying on me.
It's important to realise that like I wasn't a counsellor. You know, I wasn't able to give Ryan, you know, professional help if he needed it. You know, it was important for me to understand that limitation of myself as well. Yeah. So I had conversations with Shield. There was a couple of times when, okay, you're getting a little bit outside of my area of expertise here, and you should really go and chat to someone else. Go talk to the school chaplain, or go talk to like a priest, or go talk to one of the counsellors we had in the school. You know, that was one of the things that we had to do as well. You know, it's just important to just try and be that that pole that just kind of keeps bringing them back.
That flag up in the sky, and I'm like, okay, I better go over there.
You know, yeah. Cool.